But thank you for coming and for being a part of the journey. What I hope to do over the next half hour or so is take you on the journey that Pfizer has taken with wearables. It's not a completed journey by any stretch, but hopefully there's some things that you can learn in some of the struggles that we've had, and even equally important, me to learn from some of you on how you've navigated some of the space and how we collectively can navigate this for pharmaceuticals. So Jeff, first to call out, I love EWTS. It's one of my favorite events of the year. I think from just a tangible get something out of it for me and for my team, there's so many good connections that can be made here where you're actually talking to people who are doing things and implementing, not just talking about vaporware. So I love coming here every year. This is my third year, and there's been this journey for me. So the first year when I came, I didn't have anyone from my team. I came by myself, and as I would go up to booths, talk to vendors, they'd go, "You work for Pfizer? Why the hell is Pfizer considering wearables? So like, what does pharmaceuticals need with wearables?" So as we started to explain what we were trying to do, I came back the next year. I spoke last year, but now all of a sudden the vendors were starting to get it, where they were starting to say, "Yeah, I think there's pharmaceutical use cases that we should be exploring here." And I'm really encouraged when I came back this year to where we're now, the vendors have offerings that are specifically for pharmaceuticals, where they're starting to talk the language that I need to speak to be able to implement these. So I think it's great. I think the industry as a whole is moving in the right direction, moving from kind of spreading the peanut butter thin across the wearable spectrum, and now starting to really start to silo and say for an industry like pharmaceuticals, let's really dig in and understand what are the challenges that you face, what are the opportunities where wearables can really make a difference in your enterprise. And so you're starting to hear that, and that's encouraging to me. So here's my, the lawyers need their pound of flesh to say that we're not going to talk about anything, and if you hear anything, it's confidential. So what I want to do next is give you a little bit of background of where this slide even comes from. So about 5 years ago, almost 6 years ago now, I started the journey in Pfizer to kind of raise awareness and start to begin this innovative push to bring XR technology, IAOT technology, biometric technology, you name it, the new stuff that's out there, to try to really bring it into Pfizer. And I was strategically positioned in Pfizer to be able to do that and to build a team to do it. But the first, say, 2.5 years was pure sales mode. I was an internal consultant trying to convince senior executives why there should even be a budget set aside to explore this stuff. And even more importantly, why should they invest, should the various business units invest in their dollars into seeing this at an enterprise scale? And honestly, we're still not there. We're getting there, and we're starting to get people to understand, but it is a constant battle. Because if senior executives are having to choose between spending money on product attainment or spending money on innovation, they're going to choose product attainment every time. And the mental connection hasn't been made yet that by spending on XR technology, you can actually get the product attainment you want, or the product yield, or improve on the product quality. And so it's still a journey. And so the slide you see in front of us is one of the ways that we try to build a narrative to say that XR technology, if that's our focus for today, is more than just a disparate set of hardware and software, but that it's actually woven into the way that we do our business. And so digital thread from a manufacturing standpoint resonates very well with them, to say from our core enterprise solutions all the way to the consumer or the consuming agent for those enterprise solutions. There's this digital thread of data that should, if we're doing it right, weave all of this together to where our core solution data should go into a unified data hub. And from that unified data hub, we should then be able to extract the information and do predictive analytics on it, or expose it to our consumer to then allow them to do things with it. And so we've landed in our internal marketing with this concept of digital thread. And you can read it. I'm not going to read it there, what it says. But that's kind of the narrative that we now have started. And I want to show you a 30-second video, which kind of positions, and this is a video that we use internally to Pfizer, to position why the digital thread is so important, and why if Pfizer wants to win the digital race, because that's another one of our key initiatives, is to be the first pharmaceutical to win that digital race and really be able to embed digital into everything we do, why it's so important and why it matters. So this will kind of tee up what I talk about next. So bear with me and watch this 30 seconds video here.
The future of medicine is happening at Pfizer, with groundbreaking science, technology, engineering, insights, innovation. And now we are accelerating into the future with the power of digital, connecting, automating, and improving everything we do, uniting us across disciplines to achieve our boldest ambitions. From the earliest stages of drug discovery and clinical trials, to manufacturing, distribution, and ultimately, patient care. We're moving smarter, we're moving faster, we're moving together, moving medicine forward. Together, we are all part of this bold digital future. We have data and insights at the ready. We are constantly learning and improving, driving efficiency, and leveraging the power of the team and the machine to win the digital race in pharma and to create breakthroughs that change patients' lives.
So it's not by mistake that patients were the end thing there, because ultimately for Pfizer, we're not a technology company. We're about making drugs, and we're making drugs to improve patients' lives. So that is also one of the challenges we face, is because when we talk about wearables and we talk about how that's going to change the way we do business, it's real easy, because we're all technologists, to lead with the technology. And what we've actually had to do, and this video is a good example, this is going to be shown to our board and to our executive leadership team in 2 weeks at an off-site event, is to not lead with the technology, but to lead with why it matters to patients, and then back them into why it should matter, why it should matter to them that they use this technology to ultimately get where they want to be, which is deliver medicines to patients. So where I want to go next is to give you, and I unfortunately have to do this via words and text, not with videos or with examples, because I can't do that because it's confidential, but I'll do as much as I can to tell you kind of what we're doing with wearables and where we're headed. And then the second part of the presentation, I'll dive into where we're headed next, which is trying to really integrate this in with our core solutions to extract the value from the GMP aspect of it. So what have we done to date? So the first thing we've done is we've leveraged smart glasses in a lot of different places. And before we get into it, the video that you just saw and the experiences that you have are not due to anything that I've done. It's to the team that I have. And so some of my team is here with me today, and it's to all of their hard work that we've been able to deliver any of this stuff. So hit them up afterwards and talk to them about what they've done, because they're the ones that really are doing this stuff. So in smart glasses, we currently have wearables at 15 manufacturing sites. We're using it for remote collaboration primarily. Secondary, we're using it for guided method execution. And I'll make a point here. That has been one of the biggest challenges we faced, is folks see the immediate value of over-the-shoulder coaching, the remote collaboration. But when you want them to pivot and say, now put your SOP into a guided method, and one of our close partners we're working with here is Upskill to deliver this. And so we've worked really closely with them to figure out, we can create the guided method, but how do we get the users to use it and to want to use it? Very much like I pull out my iPhone because I have a need to do it. And so I use my iPhone because I have a need. We want that same type of imprinting to be with the wearable, to go, when I go in and I do this task, I have a need, and there's a compelling reason why the wearable should be my companion agent to consume the experience and do the work that I need to do. But for some reason, that's a challenge. And so one of the things that for those of you that are in pharma or in a relative industry is trying to figure out exactly what, it's ultimately important to figure out what is that use case that's going to be so compelling that your users are going to say, I can't do this job or this task without the wearable. And so we're making headway into that, but by no means am I up here saying we've cracked that nut. We still have a long way to go. Some of it is due to the hardware, in that it's not like my iPhone where I pick it out and biometric authenticates me and I can go into the app. I've got to either with voice or with controls get through a QR code that authenticates me against the network, and then I have to go into the application and I got to go to the screen. So it's more than one click. And that's one of the things we've been pushing back with vendors, is to say, how can my user experience be one click? It's always going to be one click, because I got to do some type of authentication to single sign on me to the network. But leave it with no more than 2 clicks if we're going there. So we've been doing a lot with expert capture. So one of the challenges we have in Pfizer is we've got an aging workforce that has lots of tacit knowledge in their brains, and we need to be able to convey that to a younger workforce, in many cases millennials that are coming in with no knowledge of the job, but have the enthusiasm and the vigor to go figure out what it is they need to do and do it. And so using PTC's expert capture has been an excellent opportunity for us to try this out. So we've done it pretty robustly at one of our plants and have had pretty good success, where we've taken the expert capture knowledge, the expert just puts the wearable on, records what they do, and just speaks as they normally would. At the end of that, you've got a recording then that can be massaged into a playable experience that's both audio and video that can be used and consumed by anyone. And so one of the interesting insights that we had as we did this is we did a side-by-side comparison. So we evaluated 3 different products, and we said to our end users, we had about 20 end users roughly, or 15 or 20, and we said, use each one of the solutions. We're not going to tell you which one is which, and they were all augmented reality solutions. And then at the end, we had a survey to say, okay, of each one of the experiences, pros and cons, would you use it again? And so our thought process was that the ones that had the most rich augmented reality content, where there was 3D modeling or there was overlays of machines with buttons and things to click, would be the one that everyone would pick. That was our going in hypothesis. The interesting results were the exact opposite. That to the user, every one of them said, that was great and it was really cool, but what we really need is just a video or pictures that tell me what to do and the steps. And so then our question was, okay, that's intriguing. What percentage of the work that you do could be accomplished with that versus the true augmented reality content? And to a person, it was about 90%. So we then started to do a pivot and said, okay, so the real value here for the majority of our use cases is more just guided method content. But of course, we don't want to leave out the 10%, because for that 10%, they're very specialized tasks. So where we've kind of landed at Pfizer is it's going to be a mixed bag. We're going to pivot more towards the guided methods that just provide the use case information, but we'll always as well have that 10% of users that have a very specialized task that want to do something more that needs the augmented reality. And then the last thing is both engineering digital twins and corporate digital twins. So we're a ThingWorx shop, and we have a lot of IoT sensors that are pulling data. So we have 2 different types of digital twins that are really providing value. At the corporate level, we've done cloud point scans and Matterport scans of some of our sites, and I'd love to be able to show it to you because it's really slick. You'll see it in the final video, but it'll just be a passing segment. I can't really show it to you because it's proprietary content of our manufacturing plants, but follow me as I try to describe what it is. So we did a full Matterport scan of one of our suites at a site in Ireland, and then we can overlay our ThingWorx data on the machines. So from a corporate standpoint, say you're a site lead or say you're an OPU lead and you manage multiple sites, the ability to see and drill down into any one of your plants in this kind of dollhouse view is immensely impactful for them. But then you take it down a level and say, okay, so I'm not a site lead, but say I'm a shift lead, and I want to be able to go in and see at any point in time what's the status of my shift. That ability to see that corporate digital twin is a massive win for them. And so we're partnering with the likes of PTC and other smaller vendors to try to really develop these rich corporate digital twins that give us that content and that allow senior executives all the way down to shop floor operators or line managers to be able to see that kind of that real-time information without having to go into the manufacturing floor or interrogate any of the machines or honestly even reach out to any of the workers. You can get that information in real time. So then pivoting over to our engineering digital twins, that's where we then take some of that same IoT data, put it over top of our Matterport scan, and then we can use that for a host of different purposes, whether it's interrogating new design that we're going to, when we build a new line, or whether it's then using it for training with real insights in real time, or in some cases even patterning out what a new line is going to look like, and then in VR get into that digital engineering digital twin and make real decisions to see what changes are going to happen if I fill this here or if I plug that valve there, and see the ramifications of that. And there's massive value that we've seen in the testing that we've done to date. So what is our vision now? So that's kind of what we've done, and everything we've done there has been for those that speak pharma, been non-good manufacturing practices or non-GMP. And so we see value in that. The senior executives that have seen the output of it also agree there's value in that. But for pharma, the real holy grail for us, where we really see the value, is jumping from the non-GMP. And for those that are not familiar, non-GMP means we're not touching actual physical product. So it could be machines that are somewhere in the line, down the line, that are going to touch product, but those machines or processes can't physically touch pharmaceutical grade product. When you jump into GMP is where all of a sudden you're talking about ROIs that go from hundreds of thousands to now millions, hundreds of millions, or potentially even billions, depending on what type of product you're touching and what are the ramifications if something goes wrong with that process. The challenge, though, is that the industry is still new enough where there isn't anybody out there that has that nut fully cracked. And so what we've been trying to do is find strategic partners that will look with us and say, how do we start to move down this journey to eventually be able to use this stuff for GMP purposes? And so what I want to talk to you next about is how we're going through that journey, some of the challenges we're encountering, and then also some of the benefits that we're starting to see. So the first thing that's important to us, and I mean it should be a no-brainer for the consumer market, is, well, you got to have a library, somewhere where you can go and you can download either your AR or your VR experiences. This is so important for pharmaceuticals, though, because as soon as you get into GMP, those AR experiences or those VR experiences need to be linked back to an LMS or a learning management system. Because as soon as you start saying GMP, there needs to be some document or record that the X-individual was trained to do Y process. And I need to be able to show that and attach that to my batch record to say, here's why it matters, and here's how this individual can now go in and do something with that has a material impact to Pfizer production. And so we've been starting to explore different vendors that provide these XR libraries that could either host AR or VR content. Because the other challenge we found is your Documenta vendors or your LMS vendors are not prepared to host this AR or VR content in their LMS. And then if you have a Documentum solution or something of the ilk where you keep your secured global SOPs, those companies don't even want to talk about it. They're like, what? You want to host AR, VR content in here that you're going to be able to edit and maintain a chain of custody on? It's just not something that they even are ready to explore. So what we've had to do is find partners on the outside that are in that either XR space that are either creating VR content, creating AR content, but then are willing to partner with us and create that library. We don't have a solution that to rule them all yet, but I think we're making very good strides in starting to find partners that will work with us in that part of our journey. Core solution integration. This is another thing that I think if you're in pharma is an absolute must to really see the value from the wearables. The previous vendor talked about how you can integrate their solution into the enterprise, but it's even more than that. It's actually getting the solution linked in with your core solution data is where the real value play comes, at least for pharma. I want to be able to connect this to my LIMS system. I want to be able to connect this to my MES system and get my MES data. And if I'm using Rockwell or some other MES vendor, I want to be able to pull the tasks that I need to do directly from that system, pull them up and expose them on the wearable, have the wearable be my entry point, and then have the data flow back to my core solution, which is my document of record. It seems like it should be simplistic, but it's not. And so we're working with various vendors and various solutions to drive down that road. We've had some success. We're continuing to pursue that. But as you know, if you're in pharma, there's quite a journey. And so even to just validate any of these systems or the points of integration, you're talking at least 6 months of intensive validation and intensive cost just to get to that point. So again, the value proposition is so key in finding what is my use case to put my feet into the water to try that out. And so we have some use cases that we've done. We feel we're moving down that road, but again, we're not fully there yet. And then the GMP Compliance Solutions. And this one, probably I should have led with this one, but it's kind of the all-encompassing approach to these three, is that you don't get core solution integration and you don't get your linkage with your LMS or your document of record repositories without GMP Compliance Solutions. And that's the one where we're working with folks like Upsco, we're working with folks like PTC, but we don't have an answer yet. We know from Pfizer's standpoint what are the requirements that these vendors must meet, but we need these vendors to also partner with us. And we understand that they're taking a calculated risk because they're needing to go very deep in one siloed area of I guess, an industry to be able to understand and to provide a solution that can be compliant to do this stuff. And so we're making progress there. I'm hoping we're within 4 to 5 months away from getting to a solution that's ready to be deployed, that we can plug in and say we can now start using it for GMP line clearance or GMP changeover or some of the things that really matter most to Pfizer where we have significant value. But it is definitely a journey. And so it looks like I'm almost out of time here, but what I would like to do is, you've heard me talk, but we have a video here at the end that kind of shows in very quick snippets kind of what we're doing and how we're trying to weave this digital thread through XR, through biometrics, through 3D printing and through other things that we do. And so I think we'll end with that, and then I'll take questions after that.
Pfizer's first-in-the-industry digital solutions are transforming manufacturing, quality and supply chain processes into a seamless data-driven insight engine. This drives the productivity and efficiency of our plants, unleashing the power of our people and bringing Bold Move 4.3 to life by making our work faster and easier. The Digital Operations Center, DOC, is a patent-pending solution that takes the knowledge from the factory floor and makes it available to support real-time decisions and right first-time execution. The Industrial Internet of Things, IIoT, uses sensors to surface information for the analysis of trends, continuous improvements, and enables performance insights to predict future events. New and emerging technologies such as augmented reality, virtual reality, and smart glasses simplify tasks by providing hands-free, step-by-step process execution and real-time feedback to the device wearer. Biometric authentication maximizes productivity, enhances security, and ensures data integrity and compliance by integrating biometrics into core solutions, such as AMPs. The digital experience in manufacturing begins with our colleagues, from those on the shop floor all the way to senior leadership, and creates opportunities to bring our medicines to patients faster through world-class performance. This performance is measured and visualized by the PGS Balanced Scorecard, which brings data-driven insights to all levels of the organization. Together, we are driving a new standard for manufacturing excellence. Innovative digital solutions are bringing PGS to the forefront of Pfizer's purpose. Breakthroughs that change patients' lives.
So you see a little bit of the solutions in there. I'd love to be able to show them more to you. Unfortunately, I can't. But hopefully it gives you a flavor of kind of what we're doing and kind of how we're trying to move down the value chain from just using it for non-GMP and really getting into GMP to find and really extract the value from the solutions. So with that, I'll open it up for questions. Go ahead, Brett.
Yeah, hi, Brent Byer. We do the Peregrine Glove. Nathan, I heard your talk last year, and something you mentioned was some cultural barriers you had to doing some of the stuff in your organization. I remember you even talked about having to use your own mobile Wi-Fi hotspots for some kind of skunk work stuff going on. So it looks like you guys have been doing a lot more stuff. I'm just wondering if you could comment on if the cultural thinking has shifted, how you worked through that, what happened there, because I'm hearing a lot of people talking and they're facing some of those same challenges.
Sure. So I love to say that we have completely removed those barriers, but we have not, because to be honest, the culture has changed, but our cybersecurity group has actually gotten more tight because of the challenges that we see in our daily world. So we try to carve it's a fine line between the balance of being able to use these technologies and yet make sure that we're doing it in a compliant manner. So some of the things that we've been able to do successfully that I can share is we've been able to make inroads with the group that manages, we use IBM's MOS 360. So we've been able to set up a separate profile which manages all of our mobile devices and our wearables. And so now we have a process where previously that environment was managing our iPads, iPhones, and Android devices, and so there was a set of profiles that they didn't want to change. We've now had them create a separate profile that we can control, which gives us a lot more flexibility, allows us to get HoloLens and RealWear and Vue6 and whatever else we want to explore onto the network, do it in a compliant manner. So that's great, but now the challenge is we require this single sign-on and we require authentication to a user, and when you're using a shared device, that can be a challenge many times. So we've taken that back and are working with the vendors that we're working closely with to figure out, well, how do we, to what I said earlier today, how do we move that down to no more than 2 clicks to be able to use the device? Because the feedback from the users, when many of them have used it, they'll put it on and go, after 4 clicks, they've lost interest. They're like, wait, I'm not even ready to do the job that you're asking me to do. And so that usability is what we're struggling with now, is we know where we want to get to, but there's still, you've got the limitations of cybersecurity, and then you have the limitations of just in a pharmaceutical environment having to authenticate yourself, which just present a barrier that we all have to figure out how to solve. And I don't have an answer. We haven't solved that yet. But we have made, culturally, we've made many, many inroads to where the question is now, should we use it? It's more of they're using it, and now they just want the user experience to be better. And we agree with them. We want it to be better too. Thanks for the question.